Bill O'Reilly, someone with a talent for tempering concerns about our president. Good to see you. We can start with whatever you want, but do you think I'm getting it right about Booker? That this celebration of him just talking for a long time about things that could happen is being a little overhyped by the left, or no? Am I missing it? Was that a big deal?
Nobody knows who Cory Booker is. He wants to run for president, so this is a way to get attention. That's why he did it.
That's what it was. All right, Wisconsin, does it matter?
Yeah, it matters because Wisconsin now is a blue state. No more swinging out there. Not a swing state anymore. But the reason the Republican loss isn't because of Elon Musk. That's absurd. Republican exit polling shows that he was so strident on abortion that independent women in Wisconsin just broke for the Democratic woman. It was an abortion play. It's a small state. Lots more money came in to prop up the Democrat. And Wisconsin voters did okay voter ID. So it was the candidate that lost in Wisconsin, not the ideology.
That's an interesting take. You know, the money wound up being about even, but the Democrats certainly had a big head start on it. And I would be careful about how you define the issue. Even if you're right about there being a female factor here, it's not as simple as abortion. It's a rights issue for them, Bill, that you guys took a right from an entire class of citizens for the first time in the modern era.
Whatever it may be,
well, it's a big difference.
If the Republican candidate had been a little bit more moderate, the race would have been closer. He was just too conservative for Wisconsin. That's why he lost.
Although Trump won Wisconsin pretty handily.
Yeah, but Trump's not a conservative. He's a populist. There's a whole big difference, and we've gone over that. So how about the Liberation Day?
Go ahead.
Couple of historical notes, because that's what my strong suit is. Donald Trump is now the biggest disruptor in presidential history.
Because?
He has passed Teddy Roosevelt, left him in the dust, poor Teddy. And the disruption is worldwide, not just in the United States. But the data is on Trump's side. We have been getting hosed since World War II by the trade imbalance. And the reason that's been overlooked by most presidents, two reasons. Number one, way too complicated, way too risky to get involved with it. So you can do what Biden and Obama did, was just ignore it completely. In the first term, Trump tried a little, but the numbers are staggering. And the best part of Trump's speech today was that he said, if you go to Japan or South Korea or China or Germany, you're not going to see any American cars because they won't let them in. Now, you can get a little chart and say, oh, it's not 40%, it's really 8%. But the regulations that these people put on American products to get in makes it impossible. And then some European nations slap a VAT tax on there. That doesn't come under the tariff umbrella. So Trump is right. We're getting hosed. I don't know whether taking on all of this at once is a smart move. And you say the futures are down. Of course they're going to be down because it's a disruption. Any disruption in the world drives the market down.
Yeah, they don't like uncertainty, but I think it's more than that.
Right.
I think it's more than that, Bill. I don't think it's just taking them all on at once. One, it's not as simple as everybody's ignored this. We consume so much more than all of these other marketplaces. And that's why the tariffs have been in place over time, is because they didn't affect the American markets the same way. I think you can make a good political argument that you're making right now that it's unfair. Yeah, you can make that argument. No. But that's why they've existed.
Hold it. It did affect American markets, but not in the way that people think. So let's go to Bernie Sanders. Let's go to the income inequality crew. Well, why do you think there's so much income inequality? Because the high-paying union manufacturing jobs went overseas. And they were replaced by service jobs that don't pay as much, or public service, or whatever. So what Trump clearly said is, I'm going to bring back those manufacturing jobs. People are going to invest in plants in America That's going to heighten
Right, but that's an if.
the potential to earn money by Americans.
But that's highly speculative. One, most of the jobs that we
Nobody
lost.
knows whether it will work.
No, yeah, but you don't.
You don't know whether it will work.
Right,
but
you
it's
don't
a
do
plan.
something. No, it's not a plan. It's not.
It
It's
is
not
a
a plan.
plan.
It's a guess. It's a
Yes,
guess. And
it
here's
is.
why it's not a plan. It's a guess. No,
Not a
here's why.
guess, it's a plan.
Here's why I think it's a guess, what you call a plan. Because you don't know that these tariffs will make people come back for two reasons. One, time, okay? It takes a long time to repatriate. Two, even if they have to absorb the tariff, the cost structure is still way in their favor, especially when you don't make them pay any taxes. Three, the number one reason that we lost jobs here wasn't just because of cheap labor, it was innovation. And innovation has only increased in manufacturing, meaning that there wouldn't be as many jobs
Innovation
anyway.
of making T-shirts?
Innovation of making T-shirts, of making... It's fact. It's not bull. It's the opposite.
No matter what it is, if it's mittens or earmuffs or whatever, you can make it cheaper in South Asia.
True.
All right?
True.
But the debate, here's the debate. Apple already said it's going to move a humongous amount of manufacturing from China to the USA. The Emirates already said it's going to move $1 trillion into the USA. Now, you can believe it, you can ignore it, you can do whatever you want, but this buoys the Trump administration. Lutnick runs in and says, look at this. They're going to come back. So it isn't a guess, it is a plan. Now, sometimes plans don't work in history. But this is a bold economic move designed to give working Americans more options to raise their assets. That's what this is. And those people who oppose it have no plan B. They're fine to let these tariffs ride. Okay? Obama didn't know even what a tariff, I mean, not Obama. Biden didn't even know what a tariff was. I mean, that's how crazy that thing was.
No, that's not true. In fact, he left a lot of Trump's tariffs in place.
All right, Dusty is talking to me in Chinese.
Let's take a break. I know
what Dusty's saying.
It's all about time. It's all about time. A watch probably made in China. So we're going to take a break. Bill's going to stay with me. 4 minutes and 35 seconds. Come on out. We're going to really get after here what the state of play is with this presidency. You heard Bill's argument. Geraldo Rivera sees it differently. So we're going to have a battle of the big names. And then I want to see if they agree on whether or not Musk is on the way out. And if so, why? And if it's good or bad. Next.
China, 67%. That's tariffs charged to the USA, including currency manipulation and trade barriers. So 67%, I think you can, for the most part, see it. Those with good eyes, with bad eyes. We didn't want to bring, it's very windy out here. We didn't want to bring out the big charts because it had no chance of standing. Fortunately, we came armed with a little smaller chart.
So do we just need to give it time, or is it time to worry? Early polls have the people saying by over a 50% margin that the tariffs are too much and the efforts to lower prices are too little. Geraldo Rivera joins me and Bill O'Reilly now. They have different takes on what this all means for our times. Hey, it's good to see you, Geraldo. Hope you had a good vacation. I've been here with O'Reilly. You left me all alone, but don't worry about it. So when you look at these moves, Geraldo, what do you see between the tariffs and Wisconsin? Like, what do you think? Where are we?
Let's just start with my vacation, Chris.
Sure.
Because the family, Erica, Sol, and I did visit Japan, just back. I can tell you we went the length and breadth of the island archipelago, and the big cities like Tokyo and the others. We did not see a single American car on the road in Tokyo. Not a Caddy, not a Buick, not a Ford, not a Chevy, not a nothing. We have plenty of Toyotas here in my neighborhood and around the country. So why is that? Now, I have an innate sense that there's something unfair going on vis-a-vis the American consumer. Now, I heard O'Reilly say that the numbers, give or take, don't really matter, that the experts will figure it out one way or the other. But I think that if these numbers are correct, or some fraction of them, if the trend is correct, if there's not an essential lie being told here, and if we are getting screwed by these foreign producers, then I think it is fair. If the reciprocal tariff the key word is reciprocal. If they're screwing us, we've got to tax them at least. And he's saying, President Trump, that half is about the right amount. Well,
Right.
I don't know. The experts have to determine that, but I just think that there's it smells something rotten.
But what I don't get
it,
Bill, what I don't get that you guys are saying is what part of you're going to pay for these tariffs do you not get? And that's why people are worried about them.
Well, number one, after hearing Geraldo's answer, I think he should go on vacation again because it was clear and cogent and correct, the 3 C's. So, Geraldo, thank you very much. Maybe Australia, okay? You're not going to see too many American cars down there either. Number two, I'm not going to be affected by the tariffs, Cuomo, because I have an American car that I like, and I'm never buying a foreign car. I never have, and I never will. Okay, so they can raise Mercedes-Benz up to $300,000, and I don't care because I'm buying American. I'm buying American hats. We have not woke hats on BillO'Reilly.com. I'm buying the Chinese, all right? I'm buying everything American. Now, there are people who say, oh, the American companies are going to see the price rises in the foreign goods, and they're going to rise their prices as well. Possible. It's capitalism. Can't stop it. But I am a value shopper. And I will go in and I know, what things used to cost and what I believe is a fair price. So if Americans discipline themselves, all right, and I don't think there's a tariff on American-made Chinese food, which is obviously the most important thing, and particularly if you live in New York, you're not going to get hosed. I don't think too many people are going to get hosed. And eggs here on Long Island, down 50%. Gas down $1.
Not because of tariffs.
So, hey, no, I'm saying that prices in America are coming down.
Right, but Geraldo,
And
a lot of
the
things.
problem
is-
It's not just cars. It's going to be consumer electronics and a lot of other things, Geraldo, and they're going to cost more, and people are going to have to pay for it.
But the problem I have with this tariff program, the problem I have with the tariff program, just as it is with the government getting rid of waste, fraud, and abuse, and there is a feel about it that is improvisational. It's almost as if President Trump is flying by the seat of his pants and he's saying, this works for me. Musk has this great idea. He's come to me, and now I can save billions and trillions and lives, and life expectancies would triple. And let's get this guy. It doesn't seem to be a prudent approach. I don't know about Mexico and Canada, the two biggest aspects here, excepting China. So you have Mexico and Canada. What is he going to do with Mexico and Canada? We had the North American Free Trade Treaty that worked fairly well, except the Americans seem to be footing most of the bill. How are we going to do this? How are we going to?
Well, the MCA that he negotiated is better on that. You raise Musk. Bill, what do you make of, there are two narratives. One is the one I offered, which is Musk is making trouble for the administration and they're going to Fauci him. The other one is, no, Tesla's taken a beating. He's done all he can. He's got to get back to what he does. He's helped enough. What do you think the reality is about why Musk may be getting pushed or whether he's walking away?
Well, as I said very early on, Musk is a short timer. It's just too hot. You just can't have a guy that hot. And he did a good job exposing the government waste, bringing it back onto page 1. But now the technicians should take over. You don't need Elon to go out and sell it. It's sold. And most Americans know that we're being fleeced, the taxpayers being fleeced. So he accomplished what he wanted to accomplish. And I think he'll remain a Trump advisor, but I do think he'll go back to the private sector.
He did a terrible job in Wisconsin. He did a terrible job in Wisconsin.
No, it had nothing to do with it, Geraldo. If you look at the exit polling,
buy the votes. He tried to buy the votes of the people of Wisconsin. I know that abortion was a very, very big issue, but Musk made the Wisconsin State Supreme Court race a seminal race. He said it was historic. He said it's basically the end of history. This was the end of of an era. It's going to be now. It's going to be the Trump euphoria, Trump Valhalla. And they lost the race. He spent $25 million on a judge election. I mean, if people in Wisconsin looked at that and they said it stunk. He's trying to buy. You can't buy love. You can't buy my vote. And I think that
Geraldo,
whether he stays or not, I think that he's the greatest.
All right.
Well,
I'm glad you love him.
I think that he's wonderful.
If Elon Musk had anything to do with the loss in Wisconsin, it would have shown up on the exit polling. It's very simple. I'm a fact-based guy. I don't know this guy who lost. So today I put my investigators on it. It wasn't hard to get the exit polling information, and it came back too conservative, way too strident on abortion. Women broke big for the Democrat.
They had the race knotted up 2 weeks ago when Musk made the big push. They lost by 9.
Well, the Democrats made a big push at the same time by demonizing this Republican candidate, who wasn't a good candidate, by the way, as Attila. Here's Attila. You're going to take all your rights away. So it was Musk versus Attila.
You know, there was a good lesson for Democrats in this. One is the one you're talking about right now. Geraldo, the other one was you got to be on the right side of the 80-20s. I've lost a lot of debates about voter ID. Because I understand the disenfranchisement arguments, but I got to tell you, they're not compelling to the majority. Even though when you look at who doesn't have driver's licenses and why they don't have them and who's going to wind up voting less, you get why Democrats don't like those laws, but they're an 80-20 issue. Everybody's like, you need ID for everything. Wisconsin, the Democrat wins, but so does the ballot initiative for voter ID. What's the message in that for Democrats?
The message is that you don't go freaky on the voters who are innately conservative, even if they are liberal and woke. There's a conservative aspect to the American personality. Change is great, but it's not too much change. Transsexual, this, that. I think that right now, as things stand, Musk has an opportunity still to be a seminal figure, to be a historic figure, to really having this unique co-presidency he has with Donald Trump, the opportunity to change things that needed changing. But the way they're doing it, I just wish they had a more measured tempo. They took on one issue at a time to crowd the futures market with this tariff as if it was, a Liberation Day. It was absurd.
I think you're right about stick with the people, and I think Bill is right that Musk has done what he can do, and he's going to exit stage left. So must we, gentlemen. I appreciate you being with me. Geraldo, you missed a good one with me and Bill and Stephen A. on Sunday. You would have loved it. Bill was great. Crowd. Bill was great. They were his people there. They loved him in Westbury, Long Island. But we had a good time, and the crowd loved it. You would have loved it. Bill, thanks for making it happen. It's great to have you both. Geraldo, I'm glad you're back. Look at me there. Look at me. I look like I was his chauffeur driver. That's what most people thought I was. 4 minutes and 30 seconds. Fellas, I'll talk to you soon. Up next. So from the Democratic perspective, what was the message of Wisconsin? And did Senator Booker really raise his stock by talking a lot, or am I missing it? Hey, thanks for watching. Go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your screen. And don't forget, click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.